The story of Pastor Shirley Caesar is one that begins with divine purpose and ends with unimaginable heartbreak, a tale of faith, pain, perseverance, and a woman whose voice lifted millions even as her own heart was breaking behind the curtain. Known as the First Lady of Gospel Music, Shirley Caesar has been singing about heaven, redemption, and the power of God for more than 7 decades. Her songs could move entire congregations to tears, her voice could shake walls, and her message gave hope to the broken. But what most people don't know is that behind the radiant smile, behind the Grammy Awards and sold-out concerts, there is a story of loss so deep it could have silenced her forever. This is the tragedy of Pastor Shirley Caesar, here on Hollywood Vault 8 AM. Born on October 13, 1938, in Durham, North Carolina, Shirley Ann Caesar grew up in a small home filled with love, music, and faith, but also hardship. Her father, James Caesar, was a well-known local gospel singer, and her mother, Hannah Caesar, was a deeply religious woman who taught Shirley about humility and God's grace. The family struggled with poverty. They didn't have much, but they had each other, and they had the church. From the time she was just 10 years old, little Shirley was singing in church choirs, her voice already filled with the kind of emotion that could stop people in their tracks. But tragedy came early. When Shirley was only 12 years old, her father passed away suddenly, leaving the family shattered and struggling to survive. For Shirley, it was a spiritual test, one that would define her entire life. She found comfort not in tears, but in song. Standing in front of the congregation, she sang through her pain, her voice trembling but powerful, and the people around her knew she had something divine. It was as if every note she sang carried the memory of her father's spirit and the weight of her family's grief. By the late 1950s, Shirley joined the legendary Caravans, one of the most popular gospel groups in the country, led by Albertina Walker. It was there that she learned to control her voice, to perform, to minister through song. The Caravans toured all over America, bringing gospel music to packed churches and auditoriums. Shirley's voice stood out. It was pure fire, capable of moving both the faithful and the skeptical. But behind that voice was a young woman who still battled loneliness and doubt. She often said that fame was never her goal, ministry was. In 1966, Shirley Caesar made the difficult decision to leave the Caravans and pursue a solo career. She prayed for guidance, and as she later said, "God told me to go." Her first solo projects didn't make her rich, but they made her unforgettable. Songs like "No Charge," "Hold My Mule," and "He's Working It Out for You" became gospel anthems that crossed generations. Her performances were electrifying. She didn't just sing, she preached. People wept, shouted, fell to their knees. Her passion was unmatched, but while her career was soaring, her personal life faced unimaginable pain. Shirley lost several of her siblings over the years, each death cutting deeper into her heart. Then, in 1983, she married Bishop Harold Ivory Williams, a man of faith who shared her devotion to God. Together they led the Mount Calvary Word of Faith Church in Raleigh, North Carolina. Their marriage was filled with love and spiritual purpose, and for more than 3 decades, they ministered side by side. But in 2014 tragedy struck again. Bishop Williams passed away after a long illness. Shirley was devastated. She had lost not just her husband, but her partner in ministry, her anchor, her best friend. Even in her grief, Shirley did what she always did, she sang. She turned her sorrow into praise. But those close to her said that the loss changed her forever. The once radiant woman who filled stadiums with joy now carried a quiet sadness in her eyes. In interviews she admitted that there were nights when the silence in her home was deafening. "I still wake up sometimes expecting to hear him praying," she once said softly. "But I just thank God for the time we had." The pain didn't stop there. Over the years, Pastor Caesar also faced the struggles of aging in the spotlight. She endured health scares, the pressures of fame, and even legal battles over property and royalties. Yet through it all she never wavered in her faith. Her message was always clear: no matter what life takes from you, God can restore what's broken, and that's what makes her story so heartbreaking, and so inspiring. She has lived through poverty, loss, betrayal, and loneliness. She has buried her family, her husband, and still walked onto the stage, lifted her hands, and sang, "He's working it out for you." She has shown the world what faith looks like when everything else has fallen apart. Today, in her 80s, Pastor Shirley Caesar continues to perform, preach, and inspire. She has won 12 Grammy Awards, 14 Stellar Awards, and countless other honors. But ask her what matters most, and she'll tell you it's not the fame, it's the souls she's touched along the way. When she stands on stage now, her voice may tremble with age, but it carries more power than ever, because every word comes from a heart that's known real suffering. The tragedy of Pastor Shirley Caesar is not just the pain she endured, it's that few truly understood how heavy her cross has been to carry. But through every trial, every tear, and every lonely night, she kept her faith unshaken, because to her, pain was never the end of the story, it was just the beginning of a testimony. This is the tragedy of Pastor Shirley Caesar, a story of faith forged in fire, of music born from mourning, and of a woman who proved that even the deepest sorrow can turn into praise. You're watching Hollywood Vault 8 AM, where every legend has a story, and every story leaves a mark.